Yeah. Sometimes when you, oh yeah, sometimes when you register for the draft, you get your card pulled. the the row got shortened up because we've got to use that. Huh? Oh, does it? Okay, cool. Cool. Let's see here. I'm thinking. I'm thinking Caleb Smith's gonna come first. I think just from I think what's going to happen is let me start this thing. It's easy to forget something back here, ain't it? By pressing the record button. There. Takes a little bit. that's the ECS logo, or I mean just logo. Just have, and that way when I take this off, that'll just say Elizabeth City Schools right there. Yeah, yeah, and that way just
I know that battery thing works. It's one of those slows. It's got time. You can literally just turn it black.
okay,
But
that'd be good.
it doesn't require the typical 2032 battery. It's 2025 that I have it.
I think Liz and Travis did that. I may be wrong. Huh. I think mainly just was up there, but I would like, really wished we had the count back when our board meeting. It was nuts to see how many people were logging on. I think we got stunned how many people was watching before we went on. Yeah, that blanking that out, I think would be important.
I can get a well, it has a projector. Whatever shows it's going to show. I think whatever's there. I think it just applies the projector feed, which means people here will see like scrolling stuff.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep.
I'll get a battery and try it one day. They said the one I've got works on like maybe at 45.
But like I said, right here, if we by changing this right here, I think would be blank that off. It says Elizabeth Schools right now, that's done. Look, just look there. We're just waiting on name Peters. do audio, turn it on, you kind of hold that camera, but I'll give her about 10 seconds, and I'll give her thumbs up, never again. There's some problem, and then we got stuff. Well, I used to be pretty good at it, and I've let John kind of take it over. It's just something you just have to just kind of.
Well, I mean, I can figure it out, but I don't know how to do it. The first time I saw John Ford, I'm like,
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I'll show you this. You gotta be getting close here. What collars back here? One of the things that I do a lot of times, if you know, of course you can touch it up here, but if I'm in doubt, what I do is I'll like, if I'm going, hey, this speaker, sometimes I'll take and just go back to full view and then go over and grab that. And that's a slow, but that's going always full view kind of gives you a fallback. So that way, if you click the wrong button, just always use full view going back, and you'll be okay. Because that way, if you have the wrong person, you know, mess with it, you get it.
To order our meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody to our December Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting. Thank you all for coming, and early Merry Christmas. Hopefully Dr. May will show up in a little while, so if he does, just grin at him. If everybody would, please stand, and Dr. Gardner is going to lead us in a moment of silence and pledge the flag.
Tonight we want to remember Dr. Bales from Johnson City Schools and also City Councilman Bob Cable for their losses this week. Okay, let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward and state your name and your address. Seeing no one, it is now time for one of our favorite, one of the best parts of these meetings when we get to recognize our students or our faculty and staff. And so, Dr. Gardner.
Okay, we'd like if Coach Harden would come up and tell us a little bit about the season and tell us a little bit about Christopher. We'll recognize him this evening.
First of all, we got to honor Christopher at a football game earlier this year, and we want to do something for him at the board meeting also. We appreciate all the support the school system gives our athletic programs. Christopher's just been a tremendous athlete for me to get to coach. Don't do a whole lot of coaching in golf. I just follow him around and watch his scores. His dad and I do, but his work ethic's been beyond great. He's been on the golf course every day. He's made himself into a very good player. And I think he's got one more year, and we expect great things out of him to come the next coming year. But he made the state tournament as a junior. That's very rare for any of you that's ever coached golf or done anything like that. It doesn't happen often. But he worked tremendously hard and did that, and went down. Didn't have the best day going the first day, but he had a really good day the second day. And he knows the course now, and if we can get him back next year, I think you'll see great things out of him. I also think this young man will play college golf one day. He's got the grades for it. He's got the ability. He's got the drive. I promised him I would find a college that his mother couldn't go to, though. Yeah. You agree with that? Y'all will come on up. participate with him here. We want to brag on Christopher. He's been tremendous for us.
They're going to put you in the middle. I can go ahead and tell you. Jamie, move them over. There you go.
Middle of the room.
Right there. Center of everything.
She doesn't get out very often, does she? Yeah, bravo.
Thank you.
All right, it's time now to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second? Second. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on this? I would like to ask if everyone would mind if we take item number 12, which is approve the social media as proposed. I'd like to move that and suggest that we have that, talk about that in a workshop. In looking over that, I think there's a ton of things that we need to be prepared to talk about before we start a policy on that, and I just think that probably in a workshop is the best place to do that. So if everybody's
I
I was
agree.
thinking the same thing.
Agree.
good, because I'm guessing everybody'd like to go home tonight. So yeah. Anybody else have any questions or comments on that? All right. So item on the floor is to approve the consent and regular agenda, removing agenda item number 12. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There we go. Dr. Gardner?
Okay, this has been a fantastic month, Elizabethton City Schools. We have a lot of great things going on, and just going to mention a few. And then tonight we have two ladies of our four-member committee that are going to be working on our branding. We're looking at, making sure that our brand says a lot about who we are, and they've been a great part of that, and they'll be talking about that this evening. I recently took a trip to South Carolina. Mr. Van Huss and I did, and we were looking at food service, our food service program overall, and we're trying to, at this point, get some new ideas to try to increase participation, but I appreciate the board allowing me to go and passing that this evening on the consent agenda, but it's been very helpful. We'll have some people coming in to just look at some different aspects of what we have, just give us some new ideas there. I want to talk about also our curriculum PD days that are coming up. We're looking forward to that, having time with teachers to do some training when we come back from Christmas break. And that's always a good time to kind of break into the semester and look at some new initiatives and things that we're doing there. Coach Harden left, but I do want to say a thank you to him. If you haven't been down to see the softball complex, one of the reasons that you haven't heard a lot about that is the fact that they've done it at no cost to the school system. There's been a lot of work done by a lot of volunteers trying to make that better for our girls, and it is really a first-class facility. And if you just have time, I think that we're looking at the maintenance budget, maybe helping them out a little bit with getting some water and sewer over there so they can put some restrooms out there for the girls. But other than that, they've raised all the money, and labor has been in kind, so we appreciate that. We'll recognize the people that probably next month or the month after, depending on. We're having a hard time getting those people here because they're so humble about the time that they've given, and they don't necessarily want to be recognized, but we do want to at least say thank you to him and the softball team for their work. We will also be recognizing the band and the football team next month, the band for their second place finish and the football team for their accomplishments this year. Something I put out to the faculty was that we're looking at doing some lighting upgrades. We want to start looking at some of the loan programs that the state has at 0% interest. Mr. Isaacs and I had a great conversation about that this week, and we're talking a little bit because lighting is his thing. So he's helping us, and we're working together on that. And we're looking at doing an investigation to see if there's a possible way that we can move over to LED fixtures as opposed to having the ballast and regular fixtures that we currently have. And we feel that the cost savings in energy will outweigh what we would have in a payment. And so part of the program, or at least what we're investigating now, will be, can we come together and come to a price that meets the requirement in a cost-neutral way to where the energy savings would pay the entire payment, or come close anyway. And so we're looking at that as a possible project coming up here in the spring, at least bidding that out and looking at that using TCPN.
Dr. Gardner, a comment on lighting, and it's been a concern of mine last year and this year, is the darkness of the parking area at the high school, especially basketball games and
that will be included.
the football game. It is very, I was concerned to see safety with people crossing there during the fall, especially parking over Ingalls.
The lighting project will cover all schools.
Good.
The parking lot will be included. That's another concern of ours. And also trying to look at, when you look at the new fixtures, it's not only the savings that we receive from energy, but it's also if the bulb is a 30-year bulb and we're not replacing it every 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
You can imagine what that costs in just time and manpower to do that. At this point, Mr. Van Hus can attest to, just through the work orders system that we have currently, we're probably somewhere in between 50, what about 50 work orders that we've tried
Yes,
to
just at the high school.
Just at the high
Over
school.
one of the professional development days, it was actually an alternative in-service day, I believe. Ms. Hall went through the school and changed every light bulb that was out. And of course, the ones that were still having issues, that was a sign that it was the ballast. So there ended up being about 60 ballasts that need to be changed, and we're still trying to change those. It's hard to get into the rooms, just because they're occupied so often, and trying to find a schedule where it makes sense. We don't want them to run down there to change one ballast and then leave. So it will free up a tremendous amount of time for the maintenance staff to work on other needs in the system.
Thank you. We also would like to announce that we'll have a parent portal open for the first time after Christmas, where parents can get in, check grades and attendance and discipline for their individual children. They can also update their phone numbers and information that we need for them, and that will be done online through our Skyward program that we already have. And so Mr. Van Hus and Ms. Simcox have been working on that very closely over the last couple months, and that's coming together. So we look forward to rolling information out to parents very soon on that. We hope that next year during that we will be able to do all of our onboarding for students through that parent portal. So parents will not have to return any forms. They will be able to do it all online for this coming year. That's our goal. So we think we'll be ready to go with that. I want to say a couple things. I know we're talking about the audit reports and that this evening, but we did have some great audit reports. Ms. Wilson did a fantastic job, as well as the staff. And we had a couple issues last year that we've worked on. And we had at TA Duggar, we had a deficiency there with the tickets and that type of thing. They worked on that, and that has been cleared up. And also that fundraisers at EHS, that's something that we've been working on even here recently, trying to make sure that we're meeting with those organizations and groups, and Coach Wilson's working with Ms. Wilson on that. But there's a couple people we need to brag on that had no deficiencies of any kind, Peggy Moore, Sharon Eggers, and Karen Vance. And we had an excellent job from Mitzi Phillips and Rosemary Claybo, and the BOE here for our audit. We had no deficiencies. So just a lot of good work on our staff, the part of our staff, and we appreciate them so much for what they do every day. Now, ladies, we'll let you kind of take it away, and we won't steal the show.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for being here. We've been meeting the branding team with Dr. Gardenauer for the past couple months, twice now, and we wanted to put together something to kind of show you guys to bring you into the fold. So this is the branding team. We've got Dr. G, myself, Lisa Malone, who couldn't be here tonight, and then Carla. This is Carla. This is our current logo. We kind of started with a tagline to try and, kind of update that, which a tradition of excellence is written down there, and I guess that would be our former tagline. I guess we're not opposed to sticking with tradition, but we are kind of trying to figure out a new direction and kind of revamp things. But this is our current logo, and from here, I guess this is one option, and if you guys want to follow along, you can write down the number and then maybe things you like or dislike about each one of them and pass it along to us. But so this is the first option, and it includes the new tagline that we thought would kind of embrace everything about the school system, which is support, growth, success. And we included Tuffy in this one. So and this is the second option. Also includes our tagline.
What does it say underneath? I'm sorry, I'm blind.
Support, growth, success.
Okay.
And if I go too fast, just let me know. And this is another design that, and I guess the first three here, I'd like to mention that Lisa had submitted these. This one also includes the tagline. Option 4 is sticking kind of with the traditional shield idea, with, kind of the large E for Elizabethton. This is another option which actually still includes the original shield and all of the elements from that shield. And there's also the option to, right here where it has Elizabethton City Schools, we could put the tagline in there. It's really, let's see, the next one also incorporates the shield with the E kind of in the corner there. And then that just kind of moved it to another side. So the same type of logo, just playing around with where to place the elements. And here's another one that includes like ECS, because we had talked about how the E might be a little confusing for folks, so we thought we would play around with, including the ECS in there. And then this is the last one that we had kind of come up with. Less white space in this one, I guess. So yeah, we really want to include everybody in this process, and we welcome all of your opinions and any input you want to give. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything.
I'll add a couple things from our meetings. The important thing with branding is making sure that when someone sees the logo, they automatically know that it's us and we're Elizabethton. Does it represent who we are? And we look back over Mr. Pless, he's our historian. I asked him, how long has the shield been a part of the city crest? So we kind of talked about that being a part of the tradition of the city school system, and we may not want to go away from a shield. We looked at other people around us, Kingsport and some others, they've completely gone away from an old type symbol, but we thought that this is something that when people see Elizabeth and they see our tagline, we've been talking about what are we about? This kind of goes into some of our mission and vision of what we're doing, and really that support, growth, and success seemed to be a good tagline to really talk about what our teachers do, what our kids do, what we expect kids to do after they leave us and they are in the community. They can live with that really forever and be pretty successful with what they have after they leave. So we're going to continue to work, and our goal is to have some options, and we want to have some forums where people from the community can come in and give their opinions as well when we go on this, but we want to try to narrow some of these down to where we think this is good. And then at the same time, we want to close in what we're doing as far as what we're going to put on T-shirts and what we're going to allow at the same time for people to use our brand, and we'll be trademarking that at that point, just like we've done with Tuffy, and that will help protect what we decide that we need. And, Tuffy will be a part of it somehow, maybe as a watermark or something else, but we're going to, give some more designs with some options for you.
I think this is great, having just gone through with this at where I work. It's amazing how once you find the right brand, it just changes everything. And it's the little things like a font, what ETSU did with the E with the state. Those are just things that when you hit it, it's just so recognized. We don't have to say anything. Everybody just knows that's who it is. And I appreciate you all doing this. Could I ask that maybe if you don't mind emailing us those just to look
Sure,
at? I
yeah,
took
that's fine.
notes, but I would like to, if you don't mind, just do that to the board. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you all for all this work. I know that's a lot, because you start getting on that creative process, and then it gets huge, and then it gets small, and then everybody is in love with one, and maybe not everybody's in love with it. And then, appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
That ends my report.
Okay, I believe that, did someone tell me that someone's having a birthday and they wanted to come and talk so that we would recognize their birthday? Is that how that works? Best birthday ever. Well, we're going to like you enough to not sing to you. That's our gift to you.
Isn't your birthday today?
It is.
Well, happy birthday.
The big
Thank you.
4-0.
Thank you much. It's been a great day. I will say the staff took full advantage of me today. Blacked out my office. Students was dressed in black. Faculty was dressed in black.
See, I would love, that's my favorite color, so that would be like the best day ever.
It worked. It worked. I didn't feel old until I got to school today.
Just pick another number, that's what I do.
Well, I'm gonna stick here for a while. Hopefully.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gardenauer, the board, for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak tonight. Bear with me for a moment. I'm gonna start off a topic here for a second. Miss Stanley, a fifth grade teacher at Harold McCormick, for those of you who may not know Miss Stanley, recently assigned a writing assignment in her class. They were to interview several people and use this data to write a paper about what they were thankful for. After being interviewed by my son, this assignment got me thinking. I could stand up here all night and talk about my staff and the staff in my building that make a difference in so many different ways every day. I can't say enough about our students who work so hard every day. Randy, Travis, John, and David could all speak to this as well to no end. I think we're all privileged to be part of a special school system that works together and supports each other. I think a lot of that starts right here in front of me. Harold McCormick Elementary is off to a great start this year. I have come to realize in a short period of time that our school is a special place to be at any capacity. I was at Harold McCormick as a student teacher. I've been as a parent. Both my kids are there. It's a wonderful place. Our staff works with students individually and meets needs in many areas. We have a very diverse population at Harold McCormick Elementary. We have a behavior modification classroom, a K2, and a 3-5 CDC classroom that support East Side and West Side Elementary as well. We began the school year on a high note with being placed on the Focus Improving list by the State Department of Education. Two gaps that we continue to work hard at closing are students with disabilities and students economically disadvantaged. Some of you may have read about our Celebration of Arts program in mid-November. We had a wonderful turnout all 3 nights, and our students shined through our community. Our PTAC came in at the beginning of the year with a goal in mind of replacing our aging sign in front of the school. I'm proud to say that with the help of our students, parents, and staff, our ESP program, as well as the support from our central office, that vision will soon become reality. Harold McCormick Elementary has been represented at the Reading Conference, the Math Conference, and the Title I Conference thus far this year. We're working hard to improve in every area for the betterment of our students. In closing, I would like to show a 2-minute video that we put a lot of time in. You may have read about Miss Estep entering Harold McCormick in the Jimmy Johnson Team Up for Technology grant earlier in the year, I guess at the end of the summer. We made it to the top 10 for the $48,000 prize, but we were not chosen as the winner in the end. We're still very positive about this experience.
Start your engine.
Mr. Hutchins, he grimaced just a little there at the end.
You didn't take the bank.
I didn't put that in the transportation request.
Okay. I wanted to see you do the banks on those buses.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallenberg, I've got to brag on you kids. I was at a civic club meeting today, and 4 children from Harold McCormick were there with Ms. Tapp, and they are the most polite students I believe I've ever been around. Went around thanking the adults in the club for their lunch today. They all cleaned their plates. They said the food was a little better at Dino's than it was at Harold McCormick. But then I told them I went to Harold McCormick. They said they didn't know the building was that old. But no, they were so nice. I was going to send you a note tomorrow, but
I appreciate that. I'll pass that on.
yeah, they were great.
They're polite and honest.
Yes, yes.
I know how hard they all worked on that video, too.
It was a lot of time. That took the wind out of us, but we're moving forward.
You can't win if you don't try. It's like you're trying to tell Debbie.
Oh, that's great. Does anybody else have any reports or anything? All right, let's move to the agenda. First item is to approve Blackburn Children's and Stegall PLC Independent Auditor's Report of Elizabethton Board of Education Internal School Funds, Regulatory Basis, Elizabethton High School, T.A. Duggar, East Side, Harold McCormick, West Side Elementaries for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. And that is attachment 10. So, any questions or comments on this?
I'd just like to underscore Dr. Gardner's comments. I'm just in awe of putting this together, not only Miss Wilson, but all the people in all these elementary schools. I mean, going through this as a purely an amateur is challenging, but it's just wonderfully done, and I appreciate it very much, all the work you put into it.
You definitely have a wonderful staff. They make you look good, you guys make us look good, so we're very thankful.
That's great.
Any questions or
No,
comments?
I echo what Ms. Peters said. I think this is just awesome. Both of these are just great.
Yes. It's so nice to come to this every year and you never worry.
Right.
I've been doing this for 9 years and we've never had an audit that we've ever worried about, so thank you. All right. Item on the floor, approve Blackburn Children's and Stegall PLC Independent Auditor's Report of Elizabethton Board of Education Internal School Funds, Regulatory Basis for the Elizabethton High School, T.A. Duggar, East Side, Harold McCormick, and West Side for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve Blackburn Children's and Stegall PLC Independent Auditor's Report, Elizabethton City Schools, a component unit of the City of Elizabethton, Tennessee. Financial statements and supplemental information for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? That's on this other little light reading material.
Well, once again, it's just amazing, and like you said, it's just so nice to know that there aren't any findings. I mean, we have nearby communities who aren't in such good shape, and it looks to me like we're in better financial shape than we have been in for quite some time.
And I know it's a lot of information and it's kind of cumbersome to read all this, but it's nice to have the confidence in the administrative staff to know that, you know, we always get a good report.
Yeah, yeah.
And we appreciate you guys.
Yes.
All right. Item on the floor, approve Blackburn Children's and Stegall PLC Independent Auditor's Report, Elizabethton City Schools, a component unit of the City of Elizabethton. Financial statements and supplemental information for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve creation of additional part-time assistant to the teacher position for the Early Learning Center in order to meet guidelines and student needs. Funding will be paid from existing grant funds. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Number 12. May have any questions or comments on that? I think it's fairly self-explanatory.
Is this an ongoing grant, or is this constant, or is it gonna run out? Like Race to the Top funds did?
No, this is one that the state is, they pay for through lottery, some lottery funds, and, we have also special ed funds that kick in for a portion of that. So these are reoccurring grants that we have through the state that we have every year.
And the key word is reoccurring.
We never know with the grant how, it's reoccurring as the state provides money. We'll put it that way in their budget.
Any other questions or comments? All right, item on the floor, approve creation of additional part-time assistant to the teacher position for the Early Learning Center in order to meet guidelines and student needs. Funding will be paid from existing grant funds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.108, nepotism as revised. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, some of the work that we did on this proposal, Ms. Peters had brought us some information from a board policy she had from the county, and we took, based on the discussion that we had, we wanted to add city in there rather than county because we're a city body, and then put a statement in there, should the director of schools recommend a relative for employment, the board must grant prior authorization. So that gives the board the ability to say yay or nay, as far as is this a good thing or is this not a good thing for us to pursue or look at prior to. So, and then we just put a little statement down here talking about what does supervision mean. We felt that that wasn't well defined in the update we have from TSBA. So.
I appreciated that. That's kind of been an issue in the past, trying to decide what that exactly meant, so.
Correct.
Appreciate that. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
The statement about supervision is direct responsibility for evaluation. Okay, Mr. Wright at the high school has 3 assistants, how many ever he has. Does that mean all of them, or does it just basically come down to Mr. Wright?
Okay, you can look at it either way.
I know that, and that's, I guess, what bugs me.
If I looked at that as if Mr. Wright's the entity, I'm going to see if I'm going to base it on him and who he's related to, or who he has can he have direct supervision? You can look at it that way. You can look at it for as far as the evaluation goes. But when we looked at supervision as it being defined by the direct responsibility for evaluation, if I look at the regular evaluation cycle and I have someone in my building that I'm responsible for, that could be an issue if that's a relative. When I say I'm responsible for their evaluation, it's their professional evaluation. Now, we have some instances in our system where we have a system-wide employee that may work in the same building as a spouse. That has happened over a number of years. But the direct supervision of their evaluation will not happen from that person.
Right.
So, we have system-wide employees that do more than, we looked at that as more than one school.
I tried to think of a better way of, couldn't come up with anything, and it makes sense to me, but it is, to me, interpretation.
And I think that if we ever were in a situation where we had we called the question, I think we'd have to look at that and say, is this a smart move or is it not a smart move based on what that person's job responsibilities are and what that person's going to do, or how they perform their job function. If it would call into question the fact that there'd be favoritism or nepotism or that type of thing, I think that we obviously would make a decision to move them. But we have to be careful that we're not just, if that person doesn't have direct responsibility for that employee, then we want to make sure that we be fair to the employee if they are working and doing a good job where they are.
Sure.
So.
And is this a first reading?
It is.
So we'd have okay.
Yeah.
So if you come up with a better way to state that.
Think about it.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right. Item on the floor, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.108, nepotism as revised. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, approve first reading of Board Policy 5.602, staff time schedules as proposed. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
The proposed change here is a definition of the work week as Monday through Friday.
Is the only thing different, correct?
No.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that? Everybody's good? Everybody's good? Okay. Item on the floor, approve first reading of Board Policy 5.602, staff time schedules as proposed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right, so we're skipping over 12 and going to 13. Let's discuss ECS vision statement. And the reason I put that on there, when Dr. Gardner and I were at the TSBA convention, they were just kind of talking about some, I forget which workshop we were in. But anyway, as we're heading into our budget season, and one of the things when you go to a TSBA workshop, especially on vision, they talk about how vision drives us, and that leads us to our mission statement. And so we thought that maybe we would take December and just look at the board's mission statement. In January, we'll look, our vision statement, and then in January, we'll look at our mission, and then that will lead us into the budget to make sure that they sort of are cohesive. So I just asked that, I don't think since I've been on the board, we've ever really looked at them, just to kind of talk about them. So that's what we're doing, just talking about it. And again, this one is it is the Board of Education's vision statement, not necessarily the school system. So it's going to be a little bit different.
Okay. I wanted to say just a couple comments, and I was looking, I provided you with a copy of the 5-year plan, the beliefs, the vision, and the mission of the school system, and then the board's mission statement, so you can kind of look over that this month. This is something that we're going to be working on over a period of time to try to get it right to what we believe. And notice that the mission statement, as long as it's been in place, and the vision statement that we currently have that we're talking about tonight, that it doesn't reflect the language, I think, of really where we are today.
Yeah.
And I think that updating it is really what we need to do to try to start working on what our goals are and tying money to them. But just as a reminder to you, the mission statements and vision statements, I put this little paragraph in there. I think it helps. Phil, different purposes. Mission statement describes the organization's purpose and answers the questions, what will the school system do? And what is the school system for? The vision statement provides strategic direction and describes what the board or the founder wants the school system to achieve in the future. And so I think that if you look at the current vision statement that we have and then look at the 5-year plan, the vision statement there, you can see pretty much a large difference in how those are worded and what they look like. I'm not saying one's right over the other, but I am saying that when we're looking at it, those being strategic directions that we feel that we need to go as a board, that if it's mapped more like the vision statement of what the school system looks like, those are key components or key things that we're looking at to try to improve our direction. And so, I'm open for any comments you might have.
I was looking over this for the past couple of days, the vision statement, and there's language in here about no student left behind and collecting data, and I think that we need to update that language.
Yeah. It's
Because-
pretty
I
dated.
thought the
For
same
2
thing.
reasons. No child left behind is being replaced, and there's also a negative vision of testing on the public's part. And I wrote something that I thought you might want to consider.
Oh, thank you.
And what I said was, our vision for the Elizabethton City Schools and as a Board of Education is to continually improve our educational environment so that all students are exposed to and have the necessary skills to succeed in our highly competitive society. I think that says basically what you have here, but it takes the negative language out. So I made some copies there. I just thought you might like to consider that.
Thanks for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, it's obvious, I mean, obviously it's a dated vision statement, and, you know, visions change. We live in a, I mean, like, goodness, in 9 years that I've been on the board, how many times have things changed, and it's so different, and education has probably changed more in the last few years than it has, you know, ever, and so I really think that, I appreciate you looking at this. Obviously, we don't have to probably decide right now, but at some point, we really do need to kind of change the, you know, rewrite the vision statement. I appreciate what you did because you took what was there and reworded it. And our vision
I think it
statement
basically
obviously,
says the same thing, just
yeah,
different
just reworded
language.
it. Yep. I agree. The No Child Left Behind needs to be removed. And I like the you know, taking out the testing, because right now that is such a hot topic. And our vision has to be really broad, and so this is a great place for us to start looking at that. I know we just haven't touched it in years.
Did you put one on Dr. Mays?
Just send it on.
Okay.
We'll make sure he
has
gets
one.
it. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any other thoughts on just talking about the vision statement?
I'm good with the, I like the revision
I
much
do
better,
too.
and I felt the same way about the two mentions in there of data, and also no student left behind, no teacher left standing.
I'll send this to Dr. May and let him look at it, and then, yeah, I really appreciate you doing this, Susan. So reworded nicely.
And the mission statement is included in there, and we'll talk about that next month.
That'd be great. All right. Anything else on the vision statement? Okay. Need to ask if everybody can, and I've spoken with Dr. May, and he will be available. Our next January meeting, if we could meet at 5:30, we need to go over the budget workshop, and if we have time, we need to include in that policy workshop. There's some policies that are coming down the pike, and we need to talk about those, and a workshop is going to be the best place for that. That will keep us moving along quickly at the budget workshop. If we can't get both in, then we'll have to do a called workshop for the policy. So if everybody can be here at 5:30, our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Tuesday, January 19th, 2016. Holy cow! At 5:30 here in the Mac Pierce boardroom.
I wanted to mention one more thing.
yes,
I don't know how many of you saw this editorial about the TSBA. They've been lobbying the legislature to ask that citizens have to pay for public records. And I wondered if we needed to talk about that. I don't think that's a very good idea.
Well, I'm going to, generally speaking, it's not an issue
Mm-hmm.
if we have a citizen here, but recently we've had a request, everybody in the state had a request to go and provide information on a specific topic that they were having an attorney. Well, we ended up, Ms. Wilson worked with me, and we came up with manpower, hours, those types of things that we sent out to them, because the request was so large in volume and so exhaustive that we figured up it would be more than a $5,000 impact to the system. So they, in some cases, are asking for entire curriculums. They're asking for teacher lesson plans.
Mm-hmm.
They ask for emails, notes, phone conversations, any type of correspondence. And the amount of time that it takes to do that is crippling. And so the reason TSBA is responding to it is that this is the fourth one we've received in probably about an 10-month period.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why they're lobbying against it. Now, we have certain citizens that come by and they may need something here, it's a reasonable request. We take care of that. That will never be an issue. But for these large companies, but they're asking for the items under the Freedom of Information Act, and it's just absolutely cumbersome. A lot of man hours. So that's why it's there. It's for a few large corporations, American Law Justice Centers, those types of people. It's really not for our citizens here. So
Well, maybe they'll develop some language that addresses that, that the great big ones have to pay for, but the average citizen doesn't have to pay.
One of the things when you go to TSBA workshops, they talk about this, and they'll talk about it in great detail. And the people that are doing this are not doing it to be necessarily to be
No.
helpful. They're, and they send it to every single school system in the state. And
Yep.
so, but you can always call TSBA and talk to Tammy Grissom or anybody down there, and they can kind of explain from why they're doing this.
Well, if they develop language that specifically says that the average citizen is not going to be charged, I mean,
and maybe they put some type of restriction on the number
yeah,
of pages.
they need
That
to
would
clarify
that would
that
make
in
more
a
sense,
blanket.
because if they were trying to classify who can and who can't, then
Yeah, and
then
guessing
they're
that's
in a
why
mess. They're in
yeah.
a legal mess to try to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Ms. Peters, let me clarify one thing. As Dr. Gardner says, we have always complied with requests. However, I don't want to let you leave thinking that there is not a cost involved, because
Yes.
it's a nominal copying cost for the most cases. We have not had a request in recent years where it was an excessive amount that we had to charge for the labor involved with any of the staff preparing it. It's been mostly strictly just copying, and the charge that we do for copying, we always mirror what the Elizabethton Public Library charges for copies if a citizen goes there, and we charge the same fee.
Well, I've said when the next meeting's going to be, and want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your families and be safe. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Thank you. Adjourn.